What's up, y'all? Today I'm going to break down how I remade the Madden 2022 cover into a recruiting graphic. Got my NFL jersey on, let's get into it. First of all, the Panthers are garbage, but gotta support my squad nonetheless. Even though Chris McCaffrey pulls his hamstring every day. Had to rep the 22 because we got 22 here, Madden 22, Rock Boys 22. That's our recruiting class for last year, which is when I made this. Without further ado, let's get right into it. So we got the Madden 2022 cover. Basically, I just went based off that and tried to make it, the exact same, but change all the details to App State stuff. So first we have our background, which is basically the same color. These are the two photos that I used. We have a photo of Armani Edwards, who was a really good quarterback for App State back in the day, and they call him the Great One. So my thought process was to use him as the Tom Brady character, and then a generic picture of a recruit as the, Patrick Mahomes character, like the up-and-coming person. Those are the two pictures that I used. So all I did was just cut them out using layer masks. I added a shadow to the bottom left, a light to the top right. So I found this picture of the sky and then gave it a blur and a camera raw filter change. Then I changed the colors using a selective color. I tweaked mostly the yellows and blues, I believe. And here is just an overlay set to color dodge. That's what it looks like normally at 45%. This is the cutout of Armani Edwards. What I did was the light in this photo and in the photo of the generic recruit, which is me in my living room, is hitting from the right, but in this picture of Armani Edwards, it's hitting from the left. So I had to do a lot of editing. This is like the only picture I could find of him, and it was like the best, stance that I could find of him kind of looking like he's sitting down because he's kneeling on the ground. But the light was coming in the wrong way, so I basically had to change it as best I could. Didn't come out great, but you gotta do what you gotta do. So I used the selective color on him. I think I just brought up the blacks, probably. Yeah, brought up the blacks, lightened up the whole thing on the right side, then darkened to the left side. So he looks pretty bland. It's not ideal, but like I said, it's the only picture I could find. You gotta work with what you got sometimes. Put some shading, that's just a black brush on his right side. And so then I created a smart object with that. That is what I have. I edited that photo with a camera raw filter. Not that it did much good. Then I added a sort of yellow tint on his right side, which is like where the sun is beaming down. You can barely even tell, but it's subtle stuff. It's set to multiply. It's just a sort of yellowy white brush. 80% opacity. Then I have the picture of me, the cutout. Use Liquify to apparently make my face bigger, my arms bigger. That's about it. Then I had to put some shading up at the top of the visor because you could see my skin coming through. That's just a black brush at 90% opacity. Then some white brush on his left shoulder to kind of, look like some light is kind of beaming down on his shoulders. Then a black brush on the left side of his body. On both of these guys, I have an inner shadow that is a light. That's linear dodge add, another linear dodge add. So this one's kind of a more broad brush, kind of like covering more area, but it's softer. And then this top one is a more harsh, but more close to the edge, white linear dodge add. Those are both inner shadows, but when you use white and you turn it to linear dodge add, it's like an inner light instead of an inner shadow. Then I use some curved layers to kind of change their colors a little bit, make it more yellowy. Selective color to kind of make the skin tones and yellows pop more and give it like a goldy orange look, because it's not only it's gold, but it's also in the sunlight, so it's gonna look pretty gold orangey. Then I used a solid fill layer set to soft light at 50%, what it looks like normally at 100%, and that is to sort of blend them in with like the background and the sky and like the blueness. Then I added a white brush up to the top. That's another light source to kind of just give an overall lighter look to the top right. Then set another overlay, and that's set to screen at 35%. That's what it looks like normally. And then added a color lookup. And again, I have this layer mask on there, which is those two bars, which were on the regular Madden cover. I wanted to make it look as similar as possible. So I added those two cutout bars right there with a layer mask. Added a color lookup and another color lookup to kind of blend it all together. This was a sort of color lookup folder that I had in case I wanted to make it like a whole different you know, style, but I decided to make it look, you know, as close to the regular Madden cover as possible. I added the text, the Great One Edition. If I haven't said this already, Armani Edwards is known as the Great One at App State. He was like definitely one of the best players to ever play there. Awesome quarterback. So that was the nickname they gave him. So my thought was like, this is the Great One Edition. Obviously Armani Edwards, and then who will you be in the bottom right, basically like posing to the recruit, like what will be your superstar name? Will you be the next great one? Then I added these mountains, so that's what it looked like at first, but then I decided to separate them all. So you can see in this one there are no lines, but I thought it looked better and gave it more depth when I had like 3 separate shapes. So I used these instead, and it's basically just triangles with gradients on them. In this one in the top left right now, I'll show you this one triangle. That's with the gradient off, that's with the gradient on, and then another triangle over top of that, and another triangle over top of that. I'm basically taking those little pink triangles that are on the actual Madden cover and putting my own App State spin on them, which are goldish yellow mountains. Then we have the bottom right box with just some little added details. I'll show you the details that I add later. So we have this black circle with the A in it, which is where I believe the Madden logo was. And then Rock Boys 22, which is what our recruits are called for the 2022 season, and that's their logo. So basically I took out the Madden logos, NFL logos, and then replaced it with our logos. In the bottom left, put our little details, little black block A, RKBZ 22 under that. You can barely even see it. It's all in the little details. That's Sean Clark's signature right there. That's our head coach. Above the A, that is where I would put their names, first name, last name, basically. Tradition, toughness, together. That's like our motto that goes on our graphics in the bottom right corner. This little mark in the bottom right, I just put app and then a square, and then I put the Yosef head, which is another one of our logos, in that. These are the 2 little black bars that I used to make the layer mask to cut those out. So I just control clicked and then create layer mask on the layer. And the last thing I did was put our color filter over top. So yeah, if you want to see more edits like this, check out this playlist. Hope you enjoyed the video and hope you learned something. Have a good one.